I swear to God, this episode and Iruma's life right now is basically what if Overlord's Ainz was a more wholesome protagonist and he's just falling into success in the most Iruma way possible. Because seriously, we knew damn well Iruma had no plan. He was going with the flow. He was just enjoying, he was eating his food. And as we get the confirmation in this episode, he had no damn plan. He didn't even realize that he ate literally every point they had. He had nothing left. And if it wasn't for another person telling him the plan that they thought he came up with, which is the most Overlord thing ever, and I love it every time I see an anime do this, where you have a character who's not an idiot, who actually has his intelligence and skills, but the way they will fall into that success and basically have these moments of brilliance, not because of their own doing, but because they're just like, shit, that's a good idea, or I'm kind of forced to go with this because otherwise people will think less of me, so we're gonna do it, and in return we can see where this arc is building up to. This grand leaf, this thing that no one's ever found, no one's ever hunted. Basically, it's an urban legend as far as everyone's concerned, and those who believe it exists feel like there's not enough time to actually find it given the amount of days they have limited. But it's such an Iruma thing to do because you kind of always have something in the back of your mind. Like, what if Iruma's shenanigans, like him eating the food and having no points, what if he himself actually has a plan as well? And it's not just someone else being like, ooh, this is what he's thinking. But no, Iruma, he's a goofball, but he's not an idiot. He's not clueless and he's not useless. He has a signature move that's going to be key, most likely, in order to defeat some creature this arc. But I like the fact that they're not afraid to say, Iruma, he's going to be just as shocked as anyone else when he realizes what his plan is, because they're literally at the bottom. We see, like, the very top is like 15, 16,000-ish points, and Iruma is all the way at 0. So the only realistic way to catch up is to catch something or hunt something that would boost them probably at least 10 times the current first place. Because by the time you get to 10 times that, you know, the people are already at 15,000. You can honestly argue they might be able to get to 50 to 100,000 by the time the limit expires. So this whole, like, this hunt, right, it makes total sense. But the fact that they do it in such Iruma fashion in order to get information, I mean, at first, there's like a moment when they're like listening in terms of trying to find the location, and Owlboy's up there talking and just being the man whore that he is, and I love it. But the fact that it's not even like enough for once in an Iruma season for Iruma to cross-dress, they always have to bring it up multiple times, and the fact that after last week seeing the evil cycle, which was so badass, we're having someone with that much authority, that much power, and that much stress almost about to explode from that evil cycle, and the way she calms down is by looking, saying, oh, these pictures are for someone else, as she's fangirling at the adorableness that is Iruma. I'm just like, this is why I love this show. It is such a wholesome ass show, but with this element of like flair. Like, you'll have an owl who wants to probably have the biggest harem of them all, but they never go too overboard with it to make it feel raunchy or anything. And there is the whole like romance with President and Iruma, and just the whole, like, I mean, people are even calling out in this episode, oh, you like Iruma, right? So it's not like there isn't spice, but they never make it overboard. And that's why I kind of refer to the show as like a Saturday morning cartoon. It has something that you're never going to overly stress about, but you also know that there is these more extra elements. There's elements where Iruma can become bad boy, and you're like, ooh, where's that gonna go? And then as we get bad boy Iruma, it actually ended up being a little more wholesome than I was initially anticipating back then. That's what I like about this arc, is that we're only on the second day now. Everything that we've done up to this point has just been the first day. And while it's possible that future days, including this current one, could maybe go a bit faster, I like the fact that they're not shying away from giving everyone their spotlight, being goofy, being fun, being badass. Hell, we literally have the whole teacher shenanigans where, hey, give us back our teacher. They literally don't even have the same teacher and mentor, but, you know, that whole misunderstanding ends in a wholesome, but then they immediately start wanting to fight again. It's just like, that's what I like about this cast dynamic, and how, like, everyone knows Misfit class, they're gonna win, right? Like, they have to win in some way. Otherwise, they would lose their class. But at the same time, the fact that you don't know which pairing is truly going to, at any particular moment, jump up a few notches, the likely bet, whether you know of Iruma's story or not, just general storytelling in general, the main character tends to end up winning in moments like these. But I think they're doing a pretty good job at making it so when Iruma inevitably wins and gets 100,000 points or whatever, it's not going to make it feel like the other students didn't have moments of brilliance. And I think that's the key difference between a lot of shows that write scenes like these and Iruma that's recognizing like, hey, like we have to make sure that the Misfit class has been shown to have grown, their powers are amazing, and they're all doing these incredible things, and that's kind of what they're doing right now. And I like the fact that they're just continuing to have, I would argue, the most fun that they've ever had over now 2 seasons and 10 episodes or so. And it's going to be interesting because we're now officially kicking into the second half of this show. I think it's a 21 episode season for season 3, that is. So it's going to be very fun to see what type of like surprises are going to be awaiting us the longer we're in, because already we're seeing students literally passed out from exhaustion. They're not doing well after one day. So by the time you get to day 3, I mean, even characters like Iruma, they're going to be exhausted. The evil cycles are going to start to explode, and you know what? Can you really differentiate between friend and foe? It's going to be interesting, because the only reason last week our boy didn't go the extra mile and hurt someone and get basically removed from the whole competition is they had their keyword, right? So some of these students, if they really do get stressed, I mean, they kind of downplay in this episode, but it is a reminder that these students could break, and not all their teachers train them to go in and out of an evil cycle, so could have some pretty fun spice, but it was a great episode. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite episode ever since the Harvest Festival kind of kicked off. Like, once we got, like, an episode into it, it really just feels like the momentum's steady. It's just, like, a very strong arc, and I can completely understand why ever since, like, the Season 2 era, I've been hearing people hype up the Harvest Festival, and honestly, the name didn't really sound all that interesting, but goddamn, picking veggies and hunting wildlife, it's way more interesting than I was ever giving credit to, and leave it to Iruma to just continue to prove me wrong. Like, the fact that Iruma had such a fun reaction this week, it was constantly like a jaw open to then jaw completely on the floor, and just the number of characters having so much fun. And I think what I love about the end of the episode is, like, this pairing is such, like, a manipulative scumbag move, but it's just so perfect. The fact that they're literally betting on who's going to end up winning, and they're just continuing to try to profit as they're eating their cup noodles or whatever, and they're just petrified like Medusa just completely stone-faced them. It's just, I love this show. I love the dynamics. I love every pairing, and honestly, you can show me literally any character, and I'm probably going to have a grin on my face saying, give me more of that, and that's what I've really liked about this arc. But of course, we'll pass the torch over to everyone. What did you think of this arc? Favorite moment, favorite funny moment, badass moment, whatever you're thinking, do let me know. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. You can also consider supporting the Patreon. I got a bunch of live reaction series going on over there, and you can also get video shoutouts like a few we're about to get here. So we got Stephanie Alala, Vortex Hosh, and CTH. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.